The bear cub kept coming to the fisherman at the lake to ask for fish. When the fisherman finally learned the real reason for the bear cub's visits, he couldn't hold back his tears. Jack was an avid fisherman and loved spending time on various rivers and lakes. He often went fishing alone, enjoying the peace and quiet of the wild. One spring day, he decided to try a new spot his friend had recently told him about. Getting up before dawn, Jack gathered his gear and set off. The morning was cool but sunny. Jack breathed in the fresh forest air, listening to the loud chirping of the birds. Upon reaching the lake, he chose a convenient spot and began preparing for fishing. Jack took out his favorite rod and skillfully tied the bait. Casting the rod, Jack waited patiently. The water in the lake was crystal clear, and he could see numerous fish darting beneath the surface. Soon, the float bobbed, and Jack felt a rush of excitement. After a short struggle, he pulled a large trout to shore. The fishing was going great, and soon several fish were splashing in Jack's net. He was completely absorbed in the process and didn't notice anything around him. Suddenly, Jack heard a rustling behind him. Turning around, he saw a small bear cub curiously eyeing his catch. Jack froze, unsure how to react. He understood that the mother bear might be nearby and didn't want to provoke a potentially dangerous situation. However, the bear cub showed no signs of aggression. He simply looked at the fish with hungry eyes. On impulse, Jack took a small trout from his net and carefully tossed it to the bear cub. The little creature grabbed the fish and quickly ate half of it. To Jack's surprise, instead of finishing the fish, the cub grabbed the remaining half in its teeth and ran into the forest. Jack shrugged and returned to fishing, thinking the bear cub might have been scared and decided to take the catch to a safer place. After a while, the bite picked up, and Jack caught several more large fish. To his surprise, an hour later, the bear cub returned. He again approached Jack, looking at his catch. This time, without hesitation, Jack gave the cub another fish. The story repeated itself. The cub only took a small bite and ran off with the rest into the forest. This strange behavior intrigued Jack. He decided that if the cub came back again, he would follow him. Jack didn't want to interfere in the lives of wild animals, but his curiosity was stronger. He didn't have to wait long. A couple of hours later, the bear cub appeared again by the lake. Jack gave him a fish, and as soon as the creature disappeared into the forest, the man cautiously followed. He tried to stay at a distance to avoid scaring the animal. Making his way through the tall grass, Jack moved as quietly as possible. He followed the bear cub's trail, noting broken branches and trampled grass. The path was not easy, but curiosity drove Jack forward. After 10 minutes, the forest thinned, and Jack emerged into a small clearing. What he saw made his heart ache with pity and anger. In the clearing lay an injured mother bear, breathing heavily, with the bear cub sitting next to her, placing the fish in front of her face. Jack cautiously approached, trying not to frighten the animals. The mother bear was in a bad state. Her hind leg was severely injured, likely from a huge illegal poacher's trap. The wound looked inflamed, clearly causing the bear severe pain and preventing her from even standing up. The bear cub noticed Jack's approach and stood between him and his mother, growling a warning. Jack stopped, showing that he was no threat and didn't intend to harm them. The man quietly spoke, trying to calm the scared cub. Gradually, the cub calmed down, probably recognizing the person who had been feeding him fish and trusting him. Jack slowly took a sandwich from his pocket and placed it on the ground. The bear cub cautiously approached, took the food, and brought it to his mother. Jack understood that he couldn't just leave the injured animal in trouble. He knew that poachers could return at any moment to finish off their prey along with her cub. He had to act quickly. Taking out his phone, Jack dialed the local wildlife service. Fortunately, there was mobile reception in the forest, so he could make a call. The fisherman briefly explained the situation and asked for immediate help. They promised him that a rescue team would be dispatched right away. While Jack waited for help, he tried not to move to avoid disturbing the injured bear. He watched as the cub cared for his mother, bringing her water in his folded paws and trying to clean her wound of dirt. The sight brought tears to the fisherman's eyes, but he didn't dare approach the large bear himself. After an hour and a half, which felt like an eternity to Jack, he heard the sound of an approaching helicopter. Soon, a team of rescuers and veterinarians landed in the clearing. They quickly assessed the situation and got to work. The veterinarians carefully sedated the bear to provide her with first aid. They treated the wound, administered antibiotics and painkillers. Meanwhile, the rescuers prepared special stretchers to transport the large animal. At first, the bear cub was scared by what was happening, but Jack managed to calm him by holding him and speaking softly. The cub seemed to understand that the people were trying to help his mother. When the mother bear was loaded onto the helicopter, there was a question about the cub's fate. It was decided to take him to the rehabilitation center too, to avoid leaving him alone in the forest. Jack volunteered to accompany the animals, feeling responsible for their fate. The flight to the nearest wildlife rehabilitation center took about an hour. All this time, Jack held the cub in his arms, who, despite the helicopter's noise, lay quietly, snuggling his nose into Jack's jacket. Upon arrival at the center, the mother bear was immediately taken to the operating room. The veterinarians performed a complex, hours-long surgery to save her injured leg. Jack stayed with the cub all the while, calming him and feeding him a special mixture provided by the center staff. After the surgery, the mother bear was placed in a spacious enclosure for rehabilitation. The cub was allowed to stay nearby, which greatly calmed both animals. Jack visited the center almost every day to check on his charges. The bear's recovery was slow but steady. Thanks to the veterinarian's efforts and the cub's care, she gradually regained her strength. Jack watched with joy as the bear became more active each day. Meanwhile, the story of the bears and cubs' rescue gained wide attention in the local media. Many people were touched by the cubs' selflessness and Jack's kindness. This drew attention to the poaching problem in the region. Local authorities increased forest patrols and toughened penalties for illegal hunting. Volunteers organized raids to find and destroy poacher traps and snares. Jack also participated in these activities, concerned for other forest residents who might fall victim to poachers. A few weeks later, the bear was strong enough to start walking. Her first steps were unsteady, but each day she moved better. The cub was always by her side, encouraging her. Jack never ceased to be amazed by the power of maternal love and the cub's devotion. He spent hours watching the cub care for his mother, bringing her food and water, and licking her fur. This sight touched him deeply. One day, when Jack visited the center, he was greeted with joyous news. The rangers had finally caught the group of poachers whose trap had injured the bear. It turned out to be an organized gang that had been terrorizing local wildlife for a long time. Jack was happy to learn that the criminals would face justice and receive their deserved punishment. This meant that the forest would become safer not only for his bears but for all wild animals. Each day the bear grew stronger, and the cub became more attached to Jack. When the man came to the center, the cub would run to him, demanding attention and affection. Jack understood that soon it would be time to release the animals back into the wild, and this thought gave him mixed feelings. Finally, 2 months after the rescue, the veterinarians announced that the bear was fully recovered and ready to return to the forest. It was decided to release the animals in a sanctuary near the place where they were found. This day was exciting for everyone. Jack personally escorted the bear and her cub to their new home. When the cages were opened, the animals hesitated to come out. The cub peeked outside, as if assessing the surroundings, then looked at Jack, as if asking for permission. Jack nodded encouragingly, and the cub took his first step to freedom. The mother bear followed him. They stopped at the edge of the clearing, looking around. Jack watched with mixed feelings as his charges sniffed the familiar forest smells. Suddenly, the cub turned around and ran to Jack. He stood on his hind legs, resting his front paws on the man's legs, and looked into his eyes. In that gaze, Jack saw gratitude and affection. He bent down and petted the cub's furry head one last time. The mother bear growled softly, calling her cub. The cub gave Jack one last look and ran to his mother. Together they disappeared into the forest thicket, leaving Jack with a sense of accomplishment and a hint of sadness. This story forever changed Jack's life. He became an active nature conservationist, participating in various environmental projects and educational programs. The fisherman loves to tell the story of the cub and his mother, urging people to be more responsible towards the environment. Jack enjoys visiting the places where he once saved the bear and her cub. Although he never saw them again, reserve's rangers sometimes inform him of sightings of a bear with a grown cub. These news always bring Jack joy and satisfaction.